Hello and welcome. The issue of amnesty for bandits or terrorists is not new, but usually generates strong controversy and debate. It's exactly what is playing out in Kaduna State in north-central Nigeria, where the state governor, Obasani, recently granted pardon, or amnesty if you like, to some notorious bandits. The decision has sparked outrage among residents, especially Christian leaders in the state, who argue that thousands of Christians have either been killed or kidnapped in the recent past in the hands of these bandits who they say are mainly Muslims. So the Christian leaders in the state are pushing back against Governor Sani's November 19th blanket amnesty for so-called repentant Fulani ethnic militia in Birnin town. That's a town now that's about 30 miles west of Kaduna metropolis. Now, the pardoned bandits are among some of the most infamous terrorists on the Nigerian military wanted list. They are wanted for crimes such as kidnapping, rape, forced slavery, ethnic cleansing, and mass killing spanning over a decade. According to the Christian leaders, the government's decision to offer amnesty to terrorists is a slap in the face of victims of terrorism, adding that granting them amnesty without holding them accountable for their crimes perpetuates a sense of injustice and inequality. Let's discuss it further now. I'm being joined on the program by a former Assistant Director at the Department of State Services, Mr. Dennis Amakri, who joins us from the United States of America. Mr. Amakri, thank you very much for joining us. These Christian leaders are not just kicking against the amnesty for these bandits. They are also alleging that it would appear from what they are saying now that the amnesty is sort of, if you like, religiously motivated, because according to them, the majority of these bandits are Muslims, and that those who have actually, borne the brunt of their attacks are Christians.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much for having me, actually. This amnesty issue is a very controversial issue. Very controversial issue in the sense that there are too many implications to it. First of all, I want to make a distinct separation between the amnesty that was issued to Niger Delta militants and the one that Governor Sani is now proposing, whereby the others were actually fighting for, resource control. And then, of course, the federal government come to see the reason in it. And then, of course, sat down and discussed with them. And amnesty was granted. And everybody went back to normal. Our oil production, which went down to 600,000 barrels per day, shut up. And then, in fact, right now we have 1.4 million a day, So you see that that's a bloodline of the country. Now, think about these bandits or terrorists. These are people who are just thieves, terrorists who've been killing people unnecessarily, who have been doing all kinds of things. And, of course, I know that the governors are trying to solve the problem. It's a problem-solving mechanism, because amnesty is what it is. So, but there are some implications whereby, the rehabilitation and reintegration of these people into, back into society is going to be very, very difficult. So, they have to carefully look at it before they go into it.
And how should I say, how difficult is it now that the issue of religion is being brought into it? Because here we're not just talking about amnesty in the actual sense of the word alone, but that there is the religious angle to it, that these Christian leaders are alleging that the governor, being a Muslim himself, that he's basically granting amnesty to his Muslim brothers who have killed so many people.
Yes, rightfully so, because I remember when Boko Haram started, a lot of people were there are some people, prominent people in government right now, who were so much in support of Boko Haram. And at that time, it was almost being, defined as a religious thing, or is an ethnic thing, or is a northern thing. A former president of this country came out to say that killing Boko Haram people is, fighting against the North, And later we come to realize, because apparently those things were used for political gimmicks, political rhetorics. And later we come to realize that this is a serious problem. Terrorism is a real problem that has to be dealt with in a country. And everybody started fighting it. But by the time we started fighting it, it was too late. Where you have a lot of foreign intervention, foreign terrorist groups coming in to booster them and stuff like that. So, yes, when you start to do this, many people will say, how about, in fact, forget about religion. How about the people that were victims and survivors of this terrorism? They will also be seeing these same people who came and finished their whole family, now coming back to society and moving around as if nothing happened. So there are different issues that people have to be dealing with. Religion, I think we should just look at it as a problem-solving, process.
But
Otherwise,
these Christian
yes.
leaders too, is their argument actually tenable when you consider the fact that, look, both Muslims and Christians have suffered in the hands of these bandits, and that's just the truth. So they attack Christian villages, they attack Muslim villages. Most times they don't even distinguish between the two religions at all. So the argument that Christians have suffered more in the hands of the bandits, is that really tenable?
It's not tenable at all. What are the statistics? What can they show us? But the thing is this, even if it's only one church that was burnt, people will feel that, yes, it's against Christians. But they were killing Muslims. A lot of Muslims were killed. These suicide bombers, when they go into a market in a place like Borno State and detonate, a bomb, a lot of people die. They don't differentiate between Christianity or Islam. So I think, yes, there are emotions involved in this, but I believe that people should start seeing it as a problem-solving issue so that we can get this behind us. We've fought it for too long.
Now, Kaduna State is not, of course, the first state to offer amnesty now to bandits. We saw it in Zamfara State under the regime of the former governor, and it failed. It failed. It didn't succeed. We've seen it in other places too. It didn't succeed. In Borno State, of course, we recorded some success, even though not completely. The question is, how are we so sure that the Kaduna State experiment will work? Of course, we've seen some of the bandits actually surrender. They've come out to surrender and renounced banditry. But, we saw a similar pattern in Zamfara State, and after a while, things just went awry. So how are we sure this is going to be different? What lessons can the Kaduna State government learn from the previous experiment and try to apply to this to make it work?
You are very correct, DEJI. Because when you look at it, the haphazard nature of what they were doing, even in Borno State, where there are people who are surrendering and they have the rehabilitation, reintegration, and I think 3 hours that they were using there. The bandits were coming out and surrendering, and they were taking them in, and at the end of the day, some of them go back, some of them even go and even commit more havoc, as if like double agents. They've done what they have to do and then took advantage of the amnesty and then go back. So the reason this could work, or should I suggest it should work, is for them to follow the process. They follow the process. In Nigeria, we tend to make announcements and, we want to give amnesty to these people, and then they come and they give amnesty and they enter into society and start continuing what they're doing. There should be proper process. And in that process, there should be, number one, they should renounce extremism. These guys have to come out and renounce extremism. Now, we are not doing this again publicly. We don't want it to be done, somewhere in a barracks or somewhere. Let them come out, bring them out, let pressmen interview them, and let them renounce that they are not doing this thing again. Then, of course, they have to cooperate with government agencies, whereby I think this is a fertile area for the security and intelligence agencies, whereby most of these people that are going to either be given amnesty or who surrender are going to help the government forces in, continue the fight, because not all of them are going to surrender. And we want, more people to, be, to cast out the net to gather a lot of people in. So they should be able to cooperate with government. And then, of course, I think there is one aspect that is very touchy, and that would be accountability. Accountability in the sense that these guys have committed heinous crimes. And some of them are known. It's just like when you go to the International Court of, Court of Justice, where some people have committed crimes against humanity. And these guys have committed certain crimes, and these crimes must not be brushed under the carpet because they have been given amnesty. For those people, not all of them, for those people, I think it should be, and for those of them who are recognized, should answer for it.
And of course, when the first batch of so-called repentant bandits now were presented to the governor, that question, what you just raised now, was actually put to the governor, and he basically shied away from it. I mean, because the question was asked, what about these heinous crimes that some of them have committed? What's going to happen? The governor just chose to, he chose not to answer that, saying that, it's taking his government 6 months to broker this deal. But let me ask you this. I mean, just as you have said, these are individuals who have committed heinous crimes, and literally, they've done, they've done most of what they've done for money. We can't deny that. They kidnap for money, they kill for money, and some of them have become so very rich. And now they are being given amnesty, told not to continue to do, to carry out kidnappings anymore, not to continue to kill people, to take people for ransom and all of that. The question is, when you grant them amnesty and they are not able to make the kind of money they were making before, what happens? Because that's exactly what we saw in Zamfara. At some point, we understand some of the bandits started complaining that, money wasn't coming for them, and they just had to go back because of the lifestyle that they had become used to. So in this case now, the governor and the government of Kaduna State has said it is not giving the bandits money. But the question is, if they are not able to leave the lifestyle that they're used to, where they get money they get so much money, what then happens? Don't you have the fear that, they might just go back?
Yeah, you're very correct. It even happened in Rivers State, in the Niger Delta, when the militants, gave up their arms and amnesty was granted. And I think there was a program where some of them were sent to school overseas. Some of them were being paid stipends, I think 65,000 naira at that time per month. and then, of course, other kinds of incentives that you're giving. And some of them say they are not taking because 65,000 naira is nothing to them. Because if they kidnap somebody and ask for 10 million naira ransom, is a better deal than collecting 65,000 naira, you know. But you find out that gradually, you know, that's why I'm saying that they should put it in a process. It should be a system whereby, you know, you go through the steps and this, you know, the stages of this amnesty. Because don't just bring people say, okay, we've given you amnesty, you can go and do whatever you want to do. No, try to make sure that number one, they reject amnesty. They have to denounce it. And then, of course, rehabilitation and reintegration have to have a process. You know, if you are rehabilitating them, does not mean you give them some bags of rice and tell them, okay, go back to your village or something. This is a very, very serious process. And I think the governor is aware, because he cannot just say, oh, we want to give them amnesty. We've been talking to them about 6 months ago and stuff like that. That is not going to cut it. You know, there are too many steps and stages to be carried out, you know, whereby he's supposed to be ready to spend some money, you know, reintegrating them, teaching them, you know, in fact, like they do in correctional services. Teach them something else that they can be doing for a living, you know, and then they should come back into society and reintegrate. That process is a very complicated process, and I think you should not take it for granted.
Well, let's just hope the Kaduna State government is well prepared for this, because from what we have seen, it would appear this has been rushed through, so to speak. You know, a presentation made. Some of these bandits came out, presented their weapons. We saw this in Zamfara. We just hope this is not a repeat of that, because in Zamfara, there was no proper amnesty program in place, just mere pronunciation. And we hope that is not the case here. And because, you know, amnesty, just as you have said, is a very serious issue, is a detailed program. The process of reintegration, it's a long drawn one, and it involves a lot of money. So we just hope that the Kaduna State government is absolutely sure of what it is doing. Even though the governor has said it took it about 6 months to put this together. If you ask me, 6 months is still not enough. But then there's no price at all to pay. No price is too high to pay to bring peace, especially to Kaduna and the northwest of the country. Mr. Amakere, thank you very much for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me always.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us, don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world. A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Let's continue the conversation on the blanket amnesty offered to bandits and terrorists in Kaduna State by Governor Uba Sani. Joining me now to discuss this further is the former chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria and the country director of Peace Foundation of Nigeria, Reverend Joseph Hayab. Reverend, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First off, let me get your take on this criticism from Christian leaders in Kaduna State, saying that they are not in support of the amnesty, and that the amnesty seeks to grant, the whole idea seeks to grant amnesty to Muslim bandits now who had killed a lot of people, especially Christians.
Thank you very much, my brother. It is sad that at the time we are thinking that we are out of this drama, we're being taken back. Let me put it this way: for some years, when these bandits kidnap people, we are told that they are terrorists, we are told that they are bandits, we are told that they are faceless. And just of a sudden, our governor is now giving amnesty to terrorists, to bandits, to faceless people. Wait a minute. Is the governor admitting that they know them? They know where they are. They understand them. So what have this same government done to victims? Victims are still traumatized up to today. Some of them have not been able to recover. Some of them died in the hands of these terrorists, and we don't have record of repentance. So what amnesty are you giving? It is like promoting their work through the back door. And it is sad that it's not someone else, the government that we voted for and put into office to protect us, to secure us, is now championing the agenda of bandits. And that's why Christian leaders are furious, because someone will tell you that no, these bandits do not know religion. I beg to disagree, because the experience I have and the knowledge I have and what these bandits do, yes, they may kidnap everybody, but there is this deliberate way of disgracing, humiliating, and causing Christian victims pains. I can give this example. A young man in a church in one community near Buruku, they went on one Sunday and took away 48 people. And when they took these people, they actually picked them in church. They were just about to start Sunday school. They picked them in church. They took them to the bush, and when they were in the bush, one of the young men felt he could no longer accept this, fought them, and was even able to kill one of the bandits. The moment they arrived in the bush, they shot all the men in that group, apart from the women. It took a traditional ruler in Nigeria who was also in the bandits den at that time to tell me, then we start searching to get to trace these people. Have such evil people repented that you will give them amnesty? And that is the question people are asking.
But is this amnesty, is it too much a price to pay for peace? I mean, at the end of the day, what you all want in Kaduna is peace.
Wish.
So if this is going to bring peace, I mean, is anything bad about that?
Will bring peace. We have, sadly, the story of amnesty is not just a Kaduna thing, because the Borno State governor is doing that. And we do know that many of these bandits that go back, even after spending years or months in rehab in Abuja or somewhere in Nigeria, they still go back and continue to support this evil. So there is really no program in place to transform the life of these bandits before you jump into talking about amnesty. You see, we keep coming up with programs that in itself is a disservice to the people in itself, cause division among the people in itself, cause pain to victim, because every victim, what will make the victim calm down is justice. You see, if you want to actually help victims to overcome their trauma, is let them see that justice is being done for them on the people who caused them the pains, on the people who caused them the sorrow. So if it were a sacrifice that will bring relief or bring succor, one would have said, okay, let's give it a try. But from what I know, unless someone will come with a different story that I've not seen, show me those bandits who were given amnesty that did not go back and are not still causing another problem. And have they really? Because when people have not yet acknowledged that what they did to us is painful, is bad, is evil, and they are sorry, which amnesty are you giving them? It is when they come out to acknowledge that they have wronged us and they are sorry, then you are saying, okay, we will receive you because of your repentance, because of your willingness to have a new leaf. But in this case, nobody even knows them, and you are pronouncing amnesty, and you've not done anything to the victim. The victim do not even look. I know that I personally assisted in bringing some of the victims so that government will attend to them. Can government honestly tell me she has attended to them up to today? And I will tell you no. So which amnesty? And then the victims are still in pains. I think if we want to do amnesty and we think that it will bring some relief, first, let's show love and concern to the victims. And then we now work on their psyche to understand certain things. Then we also reach out and bring. But you just go amnesty to one side and the other side is abandoned. I think in this case, the governor was ill-advised.
We've seen a number of them. The first batch of the so-called bandits now, or terrorists, if you like, come out to surrender and embrace the amnesty. I believe you must have seen that. Are you saying that those who have surrendered so far are unknown? They are just unknown. They are not the known bandits, so to speak, in Kaduna State.
I use the word unknown to remind government that that was what they told us. And we have always been assuming that our killers are unknown. We do not know when they have become known and amnesty is being granted to them. Because to us, it's just a ploy to use state resources to empower some people or to enrich some people hiding under amnesty. Are they really the bandits? Because these bandits, to the best of our knowledge, we were told they were unknown. And you remember, as every other Nigerian, that even when security agencies come over to the television and tell us they've killed scores of them, we never even see their corpse. So these are the challenges we are facing. So who are you really giving amnesty to? But if you are to give amnesty, have you before now done something to the victims? Have you before now shown care to the victims? Have you before now rehabilitated the victims? Have you before now come up with some trauma healing and counseling for the victims? Or the victims keep suffering in your pens, but the perpetrators, I want to have a conversation with him. I think that's not the way government is supposed to treat our citizens.
Now, the government says it took it about 6 months to put this program together. In the course of that 6 months, were you as Christian leaders, probably as groups, as a group now or as individuals, were you consulted? And did you make input at all in the way if this amnesty program was supposed to run?
I make input, I will not come to public and make these statements that I'm doing. Neither myself or other Christian leaders were consulted, because if we were consulted, the first thing we'll advise government is what measure, or will inquire from government is, what are you doing for the victims? What have you done for the victims? Because if it must happen, it has to work pari passu. Victims this way, perpetrators this way. But you can't just have one and the other. You see, we keep giving rooms in our poor judgment or poor way of implementing policies to give room for people to start thinking that we are siding others and not caring for another. I think the governor himself knows that they erred in this. And those who advise him really know that they didn't consult well about this. Because we are talking about some people who have killed some people's mother, killed some people's father, killed some people's breadwinners, killed some people's children, killed some people's neighbors, make some women become widows, make some men become widowers, make some children become orphans. And they collected huge money from them. They are already facing the problem of refunding the money they borrowed to get their loved ones back, or they gave money and lost their loved one. And nothing is done about them. And you're talking about amnesty. I think someone do not understand pens.
So, Reverend, let me ask you, what would justice for you, what would justice, especially for the victims, what would justice be?
To me, justice for the victims is to see those who cause them pains, those who make them orphans, those who make them widows, those who cause them lost everything they ever had, be brought to justice, be brought to face the consequence of their action. It is when they are facing the consequence of their action and they show remorse and they show regret and they show how sorry they are, then we talk about amnesty. Justice has not been done. They have not even admitted they've committed any crime. They are just, you just dangle carrots on them for something. So any other person who probably out of poverty want to benefit from your carrot will also claim to be a bandit. Well, in reality, people are still in pens. Show me a woman whose children and husbands were killed, and she's just wondering when will she start, only to watch on television or listen on the radio or read on the pages of newspaper that those who caused her these pens are given amnesty and to be rehabilitated by government. Wait a minute, what about her? Where is her own justice? Where is her own succor? And that's the question we ask.
And this is the point now. I appreciate the fact that you want this, you want the terrorists to be brought to justice, but the government has not been able to do that. The government has failed to do that. And
this is where we have questions.
It's just
if
not been able to do that. And these bad guys continue to operate.
To give
so
them amnesty?
What
government
then
must
do you think the government can do?
And justice.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I said that's where we are having concern. If government have failed to bring them to justice, cannot bring people who have caused your citizens pains, but you are the same government that is in a haste to give them amnesty. How do you reconcile that? Because it is the person you have arrested, and he has admitted his crime. He is sorry for his crime. He is willing to make a new leaf. Like Zacchaeus in the Bible, he's willing to even refund anything he has taken from people, though he has nothing to refund, but he's deeply sorry and regretting. Then we are talking about amnesty so that we can rehabilitate him because of his newfound understanding of true life and respect for other people. But this person have not even shown remorse. You just dangle carrots and you abandon the person who is in pain, because these victims will remain in pains all the days of their lives because they never saw justice. Nobody even cared about them. Nobody even paid attention to them. I'm sorry that if I say certain things here, people will be wondering. Even those we brought to show, these are victims, they've come back, promises were made, they are going to be assisted, nothing happened. And then the man who caused them that pain is now going to be kept somewhere using taxpayers' money. I think someone is not being fair to others.
I understand your point perfectly. But if you were speaking to the government now, what exactly would you be advising it to do?
I will tell the governor, your first step has an error. You are giving amnesty to people who have caused other people's pain, and you've abandoned those who are in pain. To remedy it, take another step back or stop where you are and ensure that those who are in pain are brought to this level. At the right level, then you can start the movement. But when you keep moving and those who are victims, those who have been in pain, those who have lost one, had nothing happened to them, you are preparing people to continue to do evil tomorrow.
Finally, look, this amnesty initiative failed. I mean, we saw it tried in Zamfara and it failed. We've seen it tried elsewhere, failed. I'm just wondering, do you think that of Kaduna State may go the same route?
Amnesty have never worked anywhere. The federal government tried it, it fell. And states have tried it, it did not work. The fact about it is that tomorrow you will hear a story you won't want to hear. So the governor should also be careful, because tomorrow a story will be cooked about his relationship with this bandit and it will be difficult for him to exonerate himself. So I do not think that amnesty at this moment is what should be done. Nigeria is where it is today because justice has not yet been done to victims. All violence that have happened in the past, when those who perpetrate it are arrested, justice is never done. And that's why we keep having this cycle, because when others do evil and nothing happens to them, the temptation is that I can also do evil tomorrow and nothing will happen to me. But that shouldn't be the way we go. The way we go is that if you cause our citizens pains, we will show you that there's a government in this land that will deny you sleep. And when people know that there's a government in the land that will deny them sleep for causing other citizens pain, then those evil people will begin to retract. No wonder this bandit will have the audacity to kidnap our children and even ask us to give them food, because they know that they will chop our food and tomorrow government will give them a new food.
And as the country director of Peace Foundation Nigeria now, you don't think what the government is doing is just the price you pay for peace?
Well, you see, in peace building, no peace where the justice is absent. You can do the talking. You can gather people and write a report. But where there is no justice, what you are doing is that you are further delaying the day of judgment, the day of wrath, the day of pains. If you want justice, if you want peace, let people see to be treated equally, fairly, and those who cause them sorrow be seen to be treated as criminals, as enemies. Then people will now be afraid to put their hands in evil. The reason why peace work have not been able to yield positive results across many parts of Nigeria is because we are handling peace from a dishonest angle. We are not bringing in the place of justice in peace building. You kill my father, you will not say sorry, and they say, just forgive him and go away. Trauma will be there. You caused me pain, you burnt my house, you boggled everything that I have, and nobody arrested you. And they said, just forgive and forget. Yes, people who can pretend to be forgiven and forget, but they will do this. I want to share with Nigeria a small story that touched my mind, and I begin to understand the place of justice. In 2000, there was crisis in Kaduna. So many people were killed, some parents, some relatives. Nobody did anything for those young people. Nobody even cared about bringing them into any trauma healing. 11 years later, in 2011, there was a violence in this same state. A young man stopped someone that he felt the identity of that person was not his identity. He killed that person, cut off his belly, brought out the intestine, and was even using the blood to bath and cry. When people came and asked him, why will you do this? He said, this is exactly what they did to my parents. That's why justice is important. If justice was done, he wouldn't have done that 11 years later. So when people have caused your citizens pain, and all you could do for them is to dangle carrot of amnesty, and there is no justice, no, you are actually breeding a new group of terrorists and evil people who will come for revenge. We don't want that to happen, but that is human life. We have to agree with it and correct it, or we keep having the cycle and waste funds calling people for peace, where people are not seeing sincerity, and they won't be committed to the peace process.
Reverend Joseph Hayab, the former chairman of Christian Association of Nigeria and, of course, the country director of Peace Foundation Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming on the program and for sharing your thoughts with us on this very, very important issue. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you for having me, buddy.
Thank you. Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world. A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI360, dissecting the issues.